The bandaged man clears his throat. His left arm is raw beneath the dressings. He has been awake for 3 days. He is sitting in a Nagasaki office on the morning of August 9th, 1945, and he is trying to explain to his supervisor what happened to his face. "One bomb," he says. "One single bomb destroyed the whole city." His supervisor looks at the burns, looks at the man, shakes his head slowly. "That is not possible." The bandaged man opens his mouth. At that exact moment, at 11:02 in the morning, the window behind his supervisor turns white. He has 3 seconds to recognize what is happening. He has seen this before. 3 days ago, in Hiroshima. To understand how a man ends up at the center of 2 atomic explosions, you have to understand who Tsutomu Yamaguchi was. Born in Nagasaki in 1916, he spent his working life as a naval draftsman, a technical engineer at Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, one of Japan's most powerful industrial conglomerates. He was meticulous, methodical, the kind of man who checked his measurements twice. In the summer of 1945, Mitsubishi had assigned him to a special 3-month project in Hiroshima, the design of a new oil tanker, the kind of slow, careful engineering work that would take months. He had been living in Hiroshima since May. He had a wife waiting for him in Nagasaki and a newborn son. He was scheduled to board the train home on August 6, 1945, the morning they chose to end the war. August 6, 1945, 8:15 in the morning. Hiroshima is waking up. Streetcars are running. Children are walking to school. Yamaguchi is already up, already out. He had forgotten his travel permit at the office and had gone back to retrieve it before catching his train. He is walking through the Funari district when the air raid sirens go quiet. An all-clear signal. A single American aircraft, the Enola Gay, is considered too small a formation to be a threat. Nobody scrambles for shelter. Nobody runs. At 8:15 and 17 seconds, Little Boy detonates 600 meters above Shima Hospital in central Hiroshima. The yield, 15,000 tons of TNT. The hypocenter temperature, 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Tsutomu Yamaguchi is standing exactly 3 kilometers away. The flash reaches him before he can think. The light comes first. A blinding, white-violet flash that Yamaguchi later described as a magnesium flare the size of the sun. There is a fraction of a second, barely a breath, between the flash and what follows. Then the pressure wave hits. Moving at several hundred meters per second, it picks Yamaguchi up from the street and hurls him across an open field. He lands hard in a potato patch, face down in the earth. Both his eardrums have ruptured. The entire left side of his upper body, his arm, his shoulder, his neck, is burned so severely that the skin is already starting to peel away in sheets. He is temporarily blinded by the flash burns to his eyes. He lies still. Above him, the mushroom cloud, the first nuclear cloud in the history of warfare, rises 40,000 feet into the morning sky over what used to be the center of Hiroshima. And he is still alive. When Yamaguchi pulls himself to his feet, the city he had walked through 20 minutes earlier no longer exists. The firestorm has consumed the wooden structures of Hiroshima in a wave of superheated air. He cannot hear. His eardrums are gone. His left arm is black and red, the burned skin hanging loose. His face is swollen. But he does not leave. He has 2 colleagues from Mitsubishi somewhere in this city, Akira Iwanaga and Kuniyashi Sato. He walks into the burning streets, navigating by instinct through collapsed buildings and fires that no one is fighting. Bodies are everywhere. People mid-stride, mid-breath, mid-life. The heat is extraordinary. He searches for hours. Impossibly, he finds them. Both Iwanaga and Sato are alive, burned, shaking. All 3 of them will later be confirmed as something almost no one has a word for yet. Niju Hibakusha. Twice-bombed people. That night, the 3 men shelter in an air raid bunker on the outskirts of Hiroshima. Around them in the darkness are hundreds of survivors, and the bunker fills with sounds that Yamaguchi, still mostly deaf, can feel more than hear. The low moaning of people whose burns are becoming infected, the rapid shallow breathing of those whose lungs were scorched by the superheated blast wave. There is something else happening that no one in that shelter understands. People who seem to have survived the blast are beginning to die anyway. Hair is falling out in handfuls. Purple spots are blooming on skin that was never burned. People vomit blood in the night and are gone by morning. In 1945, The word radiation sickness is not yet in wide use. The invisible killer, the gamma rays and neutrons released at the moment of detonation, is still working its way through bodies, dismantling cells, unraveling the architecture of life itself. Yamaguchi does not know what is killing the people around him. He does not know that it is also working on him. August 8, 1945, 2 days after the bomb, Yamaguchi makes a decision. He will go home. He wraps his arms in cloth strips that have been soaked in engine oil, the only treatment available, and boards a train at Hiroshima Station. The journey to Nagasaki takes 6 hours. The train passes through the ghost of a city, twisted steel, chimneys standing where buildings used to be, the skeletal frames of structures that refuse to fully fall. Other passengers on the train stare at the burned survivors who board at Hiroshima. Some move away. Yamaguchi sits in silence, his hearing still almost gone, watching the Japanese countryside slide past the window. He is a man riding from one apocalypse toward another, though he cannot know it. In Nagasaki, his wife Hisako and their infant son Katsutoshi are waiting. He is going home. After 3 months away, after an atomic bomb, he is finally going home. The worst, he believes, is behind him. He arrives in Nagasaki on the evening of August 8th. His wife Hisako opens the door and for a moment does not recognize the burned, bandaged, half-deaf man standing before her. Then she does. They have an infant son, Katsutoshi, born just months earlier. The family is together for the first time in 3 months. That night, for the first time since the flash, Yamaguchi sleeps in his own bed, in his own house, in a city that has not been destroyed. The relief is profound, real, complete. He has survived the unthinkable. He is a man who walked away from the first atomic bomb ever dropped in warfare, who walked through the ruins, who found his colleagues, who made the 6-hour train journey home. The worst chapter of his life is over. Tomorrow he will report to work at the Mitsubishi shipyard, because that is what responsible men do. He will report to work. It is August 8, 1945. He does not know that he has 12 hours left before the universe resets the clock. Morning, August 9th. Still bandaged, his hearing only partially returned, his burns raw under the dressings. Tsutomu Yamaguchi reports for duty at the Mitsubishi shipyard in Nagasaki's Urakami district. Because that is what you do. His superior, a man named Ingetsu Akizuki, looks at his engineer's ruined condition with alarm. Where have you been? What happened to you? And so Yamaguchi begins to explain. He describes the flash, the pressure wave, the city reduced to cinders in seconds. One bomb, he tells Akizuki. One single bomb destroyed the entire city of Hiroshima. His superior listens with the expression of a man humoring a patient he believes is suffering from shock. It's not possible, Akizuki says. No bomb can do that. A single bomb does not level a city. You must have been near a conventional munitions depot. Yamaguchi shakes his head. He knows what he saw. He opens his mouth to press the point. It is 11:01 in the morning. He has 60 seconds to live his old life. August 9th, 1945, 11:02 in the morning. The B-29 Boxcar, flying at 30,000 feet above Nagasaki, releases Fat Man, a plutonium implosion bomb with a yield of 21,000 tons of TNT, 40% more powerful than the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. It detonates 503 meters above the Urakami Cathedral, the largest Catholic church in Asia, in the heart of the most Christian neighborhood in Japan. The hypocenter temperature exceeds 6,000 degrees. The shock wave radiates outward at the speed of sound. The Urakami district, wooden houses, schools, hospitals, the cathedral, is gone in less than 3 seconds. Tsutomu Yamaguchi is 3 kilometers from the hypocenter. For the second time in 72 hours, he is standing at the exact outer edge of survivable nuclear devastation. The windows of Akizuki's office blow inward in a shower of glass. The building shakes. The same white light fills the world. When the dust settles, Yamaguchi is alive. Again, the lethal radius of each bomb, the zone within which survival was essentially impossible without reinforced shelter, was approximately 1 to 2 kilometers. Both times, Yamaguchi had been standing at 3 kilometers, far enough to survive the direct blast, close enough to absorb the full force of the pressure wave, the heat, the radiation. Both times, the same distance. Both times, from the same company, on the same side of the world's first and only nuclear war. The probability of this is not something a statistician would attempt with a straight face. He crawls from the rubble of the Mitsubishi building. Outside, the Urakami district is unrecognizable. The cathedral is gone. Only its brick bell tower still stands, a jagged broken column. The streets are filled with fire. Between 40 and 80,000 people are already dead or dying. And Yamaguchi's family is somewhere inside this. Yamaguchi fights his way through the burning streets back toward his home. When he finds his wife Hisako and son Katsutoshi, they are alive, sheltering in a neighborhood cistern, a concrete water storage tank that had protected them from the direct blast. They are physically whole. But during the bombing and its immediate aftermath, they had been caught outside in what survivors of Nagasaki described as kuroaime, black rain. This was not ordinary rain. The fireball of a nuclear detonation vaporizes everything in its radius, soil, buildings, metal, human beings, and sends that matter high into the atmosphere, where it combines with moisture and falls back to Earth as a thick, oily, radioactive precipitation. It landed on Hisako's skin. It landed in the cistern. Katsutoshi, still an infant, was soaked in it. There would be consequences for this, slow, quiet, decades-long consequences that the family would carry long after the world had moved on from August 1945. Yamaguchi's son Katsutoshi would later develop leukemia. Japan surrendered 6 days later, on August 15, 1945. The war was over. And here is what almost no one tells you about what followed. The Japanese government did not create a category for people who had survived both atomic bombings. There was no official record, no designation, no recognition. The survivors of Hiroshima, called hibakusha, were already stigmatized, feared as radiation carriers, quietly discriminated against in employment and marriage. To be a double survivor was to inhabit an even stranger, more invisible space. Nobody quite believed it was possible. Official Japan preferred not to engage with the question. The government that had sent these people to both cities, the industrial machine that had placed Yamaguchi and Hiroshima on a work assignment just in time for little boy, had no bureaucratic category for what had happened to him. For 6 decades, 60 years, Japan refused to officially recognize the Nijuo hibakusha. The doubly bombed people were left to carry their impossible histories alone, without documentation, without acknowledgement, without the word that would finally give their experience a name. The Nagasaki Foundation for the Promotion of Peace has estimated that approximately 165 people survived both atomic bombings. 165. These were not people who had been rushing between the two cities in search of adventure. They were engineers on assignment, like Yamaguchi. They were soldiers in transit. They were civil servants, factory workers, ordinary people caught by the bureaucratic machinery of war and positioned in 2 wrong places at 2 wrong moments. Yamaguchi's colleagues Akira Iwanaga and Kuniyoshi Sato, the 2 men he had found alive in the Hiroshima ruins, had also survived Nagasaki. Both were later confirmed as Nijuo hibakusha. Their names are barely known. There were no monuments to the double survivors. No annual commemorations specifically for them. For most of the post-war decades, the 165 existed in the space between official categories, acknowledged by neither the Japanese state nor the international community as the unique witnesses they were. For most of his adult life, Tsutomu Yamaguchi was silent about what he had witnessed. The reasons are not difficult to understand. Post-war Japan had a complicated relationship with the bombings. National trauma does not lend itself to easy narration, and the hibakusha themselves were caught between the impulse to testify and the social pressure to be invisible. Yamaguchi watched his son Katsutoshi grow up under the shadow of the black rain. He watched his wife Hisako live with the consequences of radiation exposure that medicine in 1945 could not prevent and medicine in 1950 could barely name. His own body carried its own cargo, elevated cancer risk, chronic fatigue, the long arithmetic of radiation doing its work cell by cell across decades. In 2006, a documentary produced by NHK, Japan's public broadcaster, told his story to a Japanese audience for the first time at scale. He was 90 years old. The cameras found a man still clear-eyed, still precise in his speech, still carrying the exact weight of what he had seen. In 2006, Tsutomu Yamaguchi traveled to the United Nations in New York City. He was 90 years old. He sat before the assembled representatives of the world's nations, many of them nuclear-armed, and spoke in a voice that had survived 2 atomic explosions and 60 years of silence. He said, "I cannot understand why the world cannot understand the agony of the nuclear bomb." 9 words. From a man who had been burned by both bombs the world possessed in August of 1945. The room was quiet. What do you say to that? What counterargument exists? There is no rhetorical position available to the diplomats of nuclear states when a 90-year-old man with bomb scars on his arms tells them, from personal experience with the only 2 nuclear weapons ever used in warfare, that he cannot understand why the world will not listen. He returned to Nagasaki. He continued to speak whenever he was asked. He had earned, beyond any doubt, the right to say whatever he wanted. On March 24, 2009, 63 years and 7 months after the first bomb, the Japanese government issued an official document recognizing Tsutomu Yamaguchi as a Niju Hibakusha, a doubly bombed person. He was the only individual in Japanese history to receive this specific, official designation. He was 93 years old. The recognition came with no ceremony, no reparations, no great public fanfare. It was a piece of paper from a government ministry, acknowledging something that had been true since 11:02 in the morning on August 9, 1945. 8 months later, on January 4, 2010, Tsutomu Yamaguchi died of stomach cancer. He was 93 years old. The stomach cancer was, in all medical likelihood, a consequence of the radiation he had absorbed across 2 detonations 64 years earlier. He had outlived his own atomic wounds by more than 6 decades. He had outlived the disbelief. He had outlived the silence. He had outlived almost everyone who had ever told him that one bomb cannot destroy a city. Tsutomu Yamaguchi was 3 kilometers from little boy. Then he went home and was 3 kilometers from fat man. The math of his survival is simple. The meaning of it is not. He lived another 64 years. He watched his son battle leukemia. He testified before the United Nations. He was officially recognized by a government that had taken 6 decades to locate a word for what had happened to him. And in the end, he died of exactly what the bombs had promised. The universe, it turns out, was not done with him. It just took longer than expected. There are stories in the historical record that resist summary, that resist the need for a tidy lesson or a clean moral. Yamaguchi's life is one of them, not because it lacks meaning, but because it contains too much of it. If this story found you, share it. The 165 deserve to be known. Subscribe to History's Hidden Chapters, because the stories that matter most are always the ones they never taught you.